So could you share with us the things that you say, all right, out of what's shareable, because you get to anchor to some of those very elite programs that there's now things public. What can you share for those that aren't in those rooms?
Yeah, what I can share is the fact that there was an effort by Lockheed Martin, believe it or not, by one of their very senior reps to offload some of the material, exotic material they had in their possession to one of the groups that I was part of, affiliated with initially, OSAP and ATIP. The program I was mostly entrenched with was ATIP, but its predecessor was OSAP. And there is now a document that was approved for release by the Pentagon through the DOPSR, official DOPSR process, where it talks about that conversation, where there were people in Lockheed Martin that said, hey, we want to offload this exotic material. We've gone as far as we can as far as understanding how it works, and it's expensive to house it. More and more of these scenarios are becoming public. More and more companies are privately. There's a few others that have reached out to me independently and privately. I'm not going to say their names here because I don't have their permission. The only reason why I mentioned Lockheed was because there's documentation on it that's out in the wild. So I can't control that. And that's now publicly available. But there are other companies that have reached out and said the same thing and said, hey, look, we've kind of backed ourselves in the corner. The government told us never to say anything about this. And now we're being kind of pinned the tail on the donkey. We're kind of being put in a bad spot here because we know what we have, but we've been told for many years not to say it. But now we kind of want to say it because people are going to look at us and really not trust us very well. And keep in mind, these are large corporations that have investors. They have CEOs and presidents and boards that they have to constantly make sure that they're giving value to their investors.
It looked like it crashed, right? The original shape most likely was like a lenticular disc-like craft, with like two dinner plates.
What
right?
does lenticular mean?
So like two dinner plates, smushed together, right? The hump, and there's like a bubble on top.
Like the classic
saucer. Like that.
Like that.
It appears to be the Magenta craft itself that Lockheed Martin has been trying to divest itself of, but they've been blocked by the CIA's Director of Science and Technology, Glenn Gaffney.
By the way, from a competition perspective, we already know other countries are looking into this topic very heavily and they're investing in it. So let's not fool ourselves. The race is on. There are some major investors in overseas that are looking into this topic, trying to figure out where they want to put their money. So the race is on.
And in the US as well. I'm not going to speak to, there's some very big names that are in this already or who are kind of doing the diligence, taking a look at it, figuring out.
Hey, let's not forget.
They want to step in.
This new administration, again, politics aside, I'm apolitical, but this new administration, there's a lot of key people in cabinet positions that are very well aware of this topic. Let me just say that. Right. And this could be a very friendly time for investors to get the wink, wink, nudge, nudge from government to say, yeah, you know what? We'd like you to invest in this. This is something that could be very beneficial. There are some big allies in the new administration. Again, politics aside, whether you love somebody or hate somebody or in the middle, doesn't matter. From a corporate and financial perspective, there's a target here for sure, a target of opportunity that probably should not be missed.
Are you seeing a lot of that investor, entrepreneur?
Yeah, I've had them come to some of my shows and have dinner with me. And I won't name names, but people who have the means, who are very well known publicly, public figures. You'd be surprised if some of them, if I mentioned their names, you'd probably go, really? There's a tremendous amount of interest from people from very well-established families that go back decades and generations that have a history of investing in things that turn out to be wildly successful. You have some entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley that are very interested. You have people, like I said, from politicians to scientists, academics, entrepreneurs, even in the IT world, believe it or not. They see a lot of opportunity here. They see some long-term gains by getting involved in this topic. Again, at some point, my hope would be for them to come out and speak to you, not me. These are people that I think would be people that have supported the NSF, National Science Foundation, for a long time. You wouldn't think would be really tied to this topic are, and some big folks overseas in Europe that are really making a difference over there.
Affluent guys of all these old money families that basically created the CIA. So,
November of last year, journalists Christopher Sharp, Josh Boswell, and I published a story in the Daily Mail exposing for the first time the CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology's Office of Global Access and its classified UAP crash recovery program. Last weekend, Christopher Sharp published a follow-up article in the Liberation Times, providing further detail on how the CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology operates its UAP crash recovery and reverse engineering programs through the Office of Global Access and the CIA's Counter-Proliferation Mission Center, or WCPMC. The head of the Directorate of Science and Technology serves as the primary gatekeeper of the entire UAP Deep Legacy program, overseeing operations such as the detection of UAPs through classified platforms, recovery operations, disbursement of recovered craft to government agencies and private defense contractors, and protection of derived off-world technologies. Glenn Gaffney, the former head of the Directorate of Science and Technology, is one of those gatekeepers. Last year, I revealed that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the former director of Aero, had assembled a secret technical advisory group to counsel Aero. Following my story, Dr. Kirkpatrick confirmed the existence of this committee to members of Congress, but refused to disclose the members' identities. As of 2 weeks ago, this classified advisory board continues to advise Aero. Multiple sources have confirmed that Glenn Gaffney, the former head of the Directorate of Science and Technology and gatekeeper of the UAP Deep Legacy program, was handpicked by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick to be on this advisory board. I must emphasize this. The most consequential person involved with the cover-up of non-human technology is advising the office which Congress has given a mandate to find these technologies. This is an abomination. This is unconstitutional. This is criminal. Also concerning is the fact that Glenn Gaffney is not the only Aero Advisory Board member who is involved with the Legacy Crash Retrieval and Reverse Engineering program. There are others whose names have not yet been divulged to me. These revelations are significant because one of Aero's primary missions is to provide a means for government whistleblowers to make protected disclosures on classified UAP Special Access Programs, or SAPs, and Controlled Access Programs, or CAPs, to Aero and its staff. The fact that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick chose as one of his primary advisors the very gatekeeper overseeing CIA-controlled UAP access programs raises serious questions about Dr. Kirkpatrick's true motives as the director of Aero. This reporting indicates that Aero may function as a fly-paper operation, intercepting whistleblowers' testimonies and feeding their identities back to the CIA. You have heard that there are whistleblowers who don't trust Aero. My sources have informed me that this is one of the reasons why. If the CIA intercepts their testimony before it reaches Congress, whistleblowers are in grave danger. Therefore, I employ you to wield your subpoena powers against hostile witnesses, such as Glenn Gaffney, former PDD&I Stephanie O'Sullivan, and the former head of the CIA's Office of Global Access, Douglas Wolfe. Dozens of whistleblowers are depending on you. I also encourage this committee to subpoena emails between former Senior Intelligence Officer David Grush and Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. These emails contain written evidence that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick is not being truthful with Congress regarding his knowledge of classified UAP controlled access programs. Thank you for your leadership and for your attention to this urgent matter.
So that's the statement. There's a lot to unpack there, and it's that's a lot. That's a lot to put in one statement. And to go on record saying that you have multiple sources that have, I mean, he must be very confident in his information.
Not just that, he's just named the big bad boss. And he's just there on Reddit, like calling him out effectively. What a guy. What a guy.
Shout out to Matt
on that
Ford.
man. Yeah.
I just, it's kind of like, I think for people who have followed this topic for a long time, or a number of years or more, at least up until recently, one of the things that has seemed to always just be true is that the people in charge are shadowy people operating from back there somewhere that we never really see. Or we never really get to know much about these individuals. They're sort of like the cigarette guy from X-Files or something. You know, they're just there.
It's a guy you've never heard of before. I'd never heard of that guy.